I've made $841,586.77 on Upwork since I joined the platform back in 2016. But let me tell you, that did not come easy. In the beginning, when I created my profile, I had no idea how long it would take for me to land my first job and start making real money. I submitted proposal after proposal until finally, after 4 stressful months, I landed my first Upwork client. And even after that, it took another 3 months of hard work before I finally hit the $1,000 mark. The truth is, it's extremely hard to get your first job on Upwork. I've been there myself and I know exactly what you're going through. But despite the constant disappointment and rejection, I kept pushing forward and refused to give up. And it was honestly the best decision that I've ever made. So in this video, I'll guide you through the fastest way to get your first job on Upwork in 7 easy steps and help you avoid the mistakes that almost caused me to give up. Now let's go ahead and get started with step 1, create a top-rated profile. When you're trying to get that first job on Upwork, having a complete profile is the first and often most important step. So let's go through my own Upwork profile. I'll show you the most important parts that will help you stand out from the competition and get your first job. So there are a few parts of your profile that are by far the most important when trying to get your first job. And before I show you those on my profile, I want to show you what those look like from the client side. Let's go ahead and log into my client account and I'll show you that from there. This is going to be huge value for you, so pay attention. Okay, this is my client account and this is a video editing job that I created in the past on Upwork and actually hired a freelancer for. So the most important parts of your profile, if you look here at this proposal, are your profile photo. That's the first thing that shows up. It's the first thing that a client is also going to look at. So I'm going to give you some good tips for that here shortly. So again, your profile photo, your title, and the skills that are on your profile. Those are the parts of your profile that show up whenever you submit a proposal on someone's job. So before they click on you, that's what they're going to see and that's what's the most important. Okay, now let's jump over to Upwork Search and I'll show you the other parts of your profile that are even more important because they show up when clients are searching for freelancers. Okay, so we're still on my client account and you can see it shows recently viewed. So when clients look at freelancer profiles, they'll stay here in this recently viewed section. That's why you can see mine, for instance. Okay, let's come up here to the search bar and let's type in SQL Server DBA, which is my skill set. SQL Server DBA, enter. Okay, so here's my profile. So let's look at what shows up here on the client side so you can make sure you focus on these when creating your profile. So again, first thing, profile photo. Extremely important. You want a profile photo that stands out, it's clear, high resolution, and it looks friendly. You know, you want something to be welcoming and not scare clients away from your profile. So you can use mine as an example. I just have a great headshot from my shoulders up. My background is clean. I used a background color similar to Upwork and it just looks welcoming and friendly, and that's what you want to strive for. So I'll talk about that a little bit more shortly, but all I did was I took a photo with my camera and then I went into Canva. You can find a link for that down below in the description. I used Canva and just brightened it up, added some contrast and things like that on it. We'll come back to that and I'll give you a little bit of an example of how you can do that yourself, but that's just an easy way that you can edit a photo and make it high quality. You know, it stands out a lot, so you need to make sure that you have something high quality that looks welcoming and friendly. Then next is your title. Your title is extremely important. It needs to accurately describe the jobs that you're trying to get. So for myself, highest rated SQL Server DBA. Before I had any experience on Upwork, you know, obviously that wasn't in there. I think it just said SQL Server DBA and developer or something, you know, along those lines. But what I want to rank for is SQL Server DBA. That's my keyword and that's what I focus on because when clients create jobs on Upwork, their title for my skill set almost always says SQL Server DBA, and that's the search term that I want to rank for. So I highly recommend going through Upwork jobs, looking for the common title. You know, whatever your skill is, look for a title that's pretty common among a lot of jobs that have been submitted. Even on, if you search for a freelancer's profile like myself, like someone that's been on Upwork for a while, you go through their work history, write down the keywords, the main keywords from the titles that stand out the most, and then construct your title based on those keywords. That's a great way that you can help yourself start ranking for keywords on Upwork. So again, SQL Server DBA, I made sure that's in my title. It's by far the most important. Then next is your profile rate. That's not really too important when you're first starting out on Upwork. You basically need to figure out how you want to price yourself based on other freelancers in your niche, their experience. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about that a little further later in the video when we get to proposals. However, your rate does show up when clients are searching for freelancers, so it is important. Okay, this next part is extremely important, and it's more important than pretty much anything else on your profile, and that's the first 1 to 2 sentences of your profile description. So why are those so important? The reason for that is they show up in Upwork search. So if you look right here, this is the top of my profile description. What I did is I actually went down through my work history on Upwork. I found one of my best reviews and I put that at the top of my description. Obviously, if you're new on Upwork trying to get that first job, you can't do that. So this is something you can do later on once you have some work history, if you want to put like a review in your first 2 sentences to help you stand out. However, what I want you to remember is that your first 1 to 2 sentences show up to clients when they're searching for freelancers. They need to grab the client's attention, so they need to be really powerful and hook the client. And you need to put a lot of work into your first 2 sentences, more than the rest of your profile description, because they're the most important. Okay, this is also very important. This isn't a part of your profile. I mean, it is because of your reviews, but it's not something you can, fix on your profile or create when you're first getting started. So you can see here, I search for SQL Server DBA, again, the skill I'm looking for. And you can see right here, it says that my profile was suggested to the client because I've worked on 95 jobs that match the search term. So this is very important, so pay attention. If you want to rank for your skill set, which, if you want to make money on Upwork, that's something you want to do, you need to complete jobs where the job title has your keyword in it. That's why, again, I said go look at freelancer profiles like, really experienced and successful ones. If you clicked on my profile, you can go through my job history and look for the common title. Mine's going to be SQL Server DBA. Write down the most common titles and then construct your title based on those. Because if you want your profile to be suggested to clients when they're searching for freelancers, you need to complete jobs that have the search term in the title. That's why I have 95 jobs completed with SQL Server DBA in the title. So when you search for SQL Server DBA on Upwork, my profile always shows up on the first page, sometimes the second page, but almost always on the first page. And it has a lot to do with my work history and how many jobs that I've completed with SQL Server DBA in the title. And then last are your skills, and I'll show you where these are on your profile. I think a lot of freelancers don't really put a lot of effort into the skills. They just select, 10 to 15 skills that kind of go with their, job title and description. But these are really important because these help you rank. They're important for ranking, and they also show up to the client when they're looking, for freelancers. They show up whenever you submit a proposal, like I showed you a while ago, and they show up here when clients are in search and looking for freelancers as well. And here you can see mine. You can scroll over and you can see all of my skills that I have listed on my profile. So now let's jump back over to my profile and we'll go over again the most important sections, and I'll give you some tips on how you can construct yours to help you get your first job on Upwork. Okay, so back on my profile, think about this. What way do people read? People read, at least, most people, from left to right. So when a client comes to your profile, what do you think they're going to look at first? It's going to be your profile photo. They're going to read from left to right, and on the left at the top, the most important thing that's going to show up first is your profile photo. A lot of freelancers, especially new ones, grab some photo they've used in the past on Instagram, Facebook, or something like that, and use it as their profile photo. And you can get away with doing that. You might even win some jobs, but it's not best practice. So again, the best practice thing to do is to take a photo, a headshot of yourself from your shoulders up. You could hire someone to do this for you and the money would be well worth it. But if you want to do it by yourself like I did, then again, take a headshot. And now let's jump over to Canva. Now in Canva, you can edit the photo, and I'll show you some of the main ones that I use. So if I click on my photo and I go to edit image, it opens up some options on the left hand side. So the first thing that I usually do is I click on the adjust, and then in here I usually change the brightness, contrast, saturation, vibrance, highlights, and shadows. So the next option that I use is face retouch. So if we click on this, okay, so it just applied, and now we have some other options. You can see it's currently set to auto. You can leave it on auto, and you can just change the scale to increase the intensity or lower the intensity. So you can see here it's 0, there's nothing applied, and I usually bump it up to somewhere around 60. And what it does is it makes the quality of your skin just look more smooth. It brightens your teeth up a little bit and just improves the overall image clarity of yourself as well. Now, the only other thing that I do here is I usually change the background color. So you can see I have this green background because I like how that goes with Upwork's colors, but you can also change the background as well. So for example, if I wanted to change the background, what I could do is I could select my image again, come over here and select background remover. And if we click on this, which is really cool, it's going to remove the background and leave myself. Okay, so now we have a clean background. This is actually the background that I use on Twitter. If you go look at my Twitter profile, if you look at my Instagram, even my YouTube channel, my photo, it has this clean, like off-white gray background. I really like how it looks, but you can change it to whatever you want. So now that I have it selected, we can select the color option here. Something really important though, before you do that, you need to right click and select detach image from background. If you don't do that, whenever you change the background color, it's going to put it over top of you, and you don't want that. So make sure you detach it and then click on the background. And then from here, you can see my color that I have selected. We could do a blue. You have unlimited options. Because you can select the color wheel and, change it to whatever. So if we go back to my gray color, now from here, what you can do, again, it may resize your photo. So what I'm going to do is just enhance my photo again, just scale it up. And there we go. That's how easy it is to edit your profile photo within Canva. If you edit it this way with a nice headshot, it's going to help you stand out. It's going to make your profile look more professional and more welcoming and friendly to clients. So again, reading left to right. If we look at the top here, the next important thing would be this badge that says available now. You can turn this on or off. You basically set a limit on how many connects you want to use per week to keep this on. I usually set it to 7, which is, I think the recommended amount is like 5 or 7 connects per week. But if you're trying to get your first job, I think it's important to use everything that Upwork offers to you. Now, this available now badge, when you're trying to get your first job, is, I think, really important. I think this might also come into play whenever clients are searching for freelancers or looking at proposals that were submitted on their job. I believe they can see this badge, and it makes it look like you're ready to start working and accepting new projects. When you're trying to get your first job, I would definitely have it turned on. Whenever you have a good, base of clients who you consistently work with, it's not as important then because you don't, really need additional work. But when you're trying to get your first job or add additional clients, I think it's really important. So to change that, this is my profile with all the editing options available to us. You can see now there's a little edit symbol right here. You can click on that, get started. And now here's again where I said you can change how many connects that you want to spend per week. So I usually, again, 7 is like what it recommends. I have mine on 10. If you were just starting out on Upwork, I would probably leave it as 7, like the lowest amount or what Upwork recommends, just so that you don't waste a bunch of connects. So left to right, your job success score and your badge, those don't really matter to you when you're trying to get your first job, because you're not going to have a badge that takes a while to get based on your work history, jobs you're completing, your feedback, all those things, how active you are, how well you respond to clients' communication and messaging. So don't worry about the badge right now because that's not going to come until later. And the job success score, very important. When you're trying to get your first job, it's not going to show up because you don't have any history. It's important to focus on over-delivering. What I always say to do is under-promise and over-deliver. What that means is whenever you're bidding on a project, bid on what you need to do to complete it successfully, and then find something that goes above that, something additional you can do for the client. Just think of something you can do to over deliver, because that's going to get you a lot of 5-star reviews. When the client is left saying, wow, they really helped me, that's what's going to get you 5 stars. It's going to get you a 100% job success score, and also it's going to get you some really good badges that you need, like Rising Talent, Top Rated, top rated plus, and then maybe eventually expert vetted. Left to right. So when you get to this point, the client is probably going to look right before they go down. So next up would be your title. We already talked about your title and how to construct it. Again, what I said to do was look for the specific keyword for your skill that shows up a lot in jobs. For me, it is this right here, SQL Server DBA. That's the skill, the keyword that I want to rank for in Upwork search. So to figure out that for yourself, again, find a freelancer profile for your skill, a really successful one. You can easily search for them if you go to the top, change the drop down to talent, and then type a skill in like SQL Server DBA. Again, if I search for that, it's going to show a big list of freelancers. If we clicked on myself, we would get to my profile. And then what you can do is scroll down, work history, start going through their completed jobs and write down the keywords that show up the most. So you can see mine, SQL, SQL DBA, SQL performance tuning. You can see SQL is keeps repeating. You need to go through a lot of these. There's SQL Server DBA, SQL DBA, DBA. Now, if you go through a lot of these here, you can even, sort by the largest projects and go through these as well. SQL DBA, MS SQL DBA. You can see my keyword here shows up all over the place in my completed jobs. Now, when you search for a freelancer and you find one for your skill set, go through their jobs, write down a list of the keywords that show up the most, and then use that to make your title. It's going to pay off very well for you. Okay, next from left to right is the hourly rate. Now, let's jump over to the edited profile. So you can click on this edit option right here, and now you can change this to whatever you want. So the best way to set your initial hourly rate is, again, search for freelancers with your skill. You want to look at the most successful because it gives you inspiration, what you can strive to get to. When I first started on Upwork, I searched for SQL, server freelancers, and I put all the filters to the max to find the most successful. I found a lot that had hourly rates over $100, and I just remember how much that motivated me and pushed me to deliver high quality work, because I knew one day if they got to that, I could do it as well. And that's the mindset that you need to have. If someone else got to, over $100 an hour for your skill set, then you can do it as well. So when you're first starting out, the best thing to do is to look at maybe rising talent freelancers or freelancers who aren't the most successful, but they're just getting started. They're starting to build some clients up. And that's probably what I would do. I think I set my hourly rate way too low. When I first started, my hourly rate was like $25 an hour. And that's not bad because I was only making like $40,000 a year at my salary job. So if you broke it down into like an hourly thing, I was making about the same amount of money, but I could have made so much more if I would have started like at $35 an hour. I think that would have been a good starting point for my skill set, maybe even up to 50, but 35 would have been a better rate to start at instead of 25. So the easiest way to figure out this for yourself is to search for a skill, make sure you have talent selected, hit enter. The hourly rate filter is already set here, but what we can do is change this to freelancers. Job success score, you definitely want to look at successful, freelancers that are doing good work. And we don't really need to set anything else on here because we want to see newer freelancers as well and not just the most successful. And then if you want to take it a step further, you can also put your location in here. Like for instance, I could type in India. You could select India. So when you're looking at freelancers, sometimes it's better to figure out your hourly rate by looking at freelancers who are located around the same geographic location as yourself. It's going to help you come up with a more accurate hourly rate. So here's some freelancers with, no location selected. Now what I could do is I could turn on US only. That's going to let me see US freelancers where I'm located. And if I start looking at these, $100 an hour, this guy's been on Upwork for a while, so really successful. Okay, so here's a 75, 80, 50, and this is a newer freelancer here. You can see they've only made 40K, and scrolling down further, 45, also a newer freelancer. Click on the second page, 45, there's my profile, showed up on the second page this time. And yeah, so what I would do is just scroll through a bunch of these, look at the hourly rates, what they're getting paid, and focus on, newer freelancers who don't have a ton of history on Upwork, that's going to help you come up with a hourly rate that's going to make you more competitive. So looking at these first few pages, honestly, what I should have done is started at $45 an hour. I haven't seen anything under 45 yet, and some of these freelancers have been newer on Upwork as well. So if I was starting today as a SQL Server DBA in my geographic location, I would have set my initial profile rate to $45 an hour rather than $25, which I used back in 2016 when I started. So something to remember here is don't try to price yourself lower than everyone else. If you try to be competitive on price, in my opinion, that's a race to the bottom. Someone's always going to try to bid lower or cheaper than you. So don't try to be competitive on price because someone is always going to price himself lower than you. So this is my current hourly rate, and the Upwork fees, 20% is on your first $500, and then after you pass 20%, it goes down to 10% from $500 to $10,000. And then after you pass $10,000 with a single client, then your fees drop to 5%. Now, I've been on Upwork since 2016, and I think my average fee percentage is only like 5.72%. And I showed this in my Freelance Income Pro dashboard, link down below in the description, joshburnstech.com/freelance pro. So I'll go ahead and throw that on the screen now so you can see it. It shows you your total clients, earnings, fees percentage, and total profit. And I also have this dashboard broken out so you can see another table per client. You can see your fees, earnings, everything per client, and then you can also see your monthly earnings as well, which I think is really cool. So again, if you want to get the dashboard, link down below in the description. There's a promo going on for it right now as well. You can get 30% off using discount code FPLaunch. Okay, next up on my profile, again, left to right, the next thing after the hourly rate is going to be your profile video. Now, this is really important, especially if you're a new freelancer. You want to do everything possible to get your first job. And this is one thing that's really important. A lot of people don't do it because they don't feel comfortable filming a video. Trust me, whenever I first started on YouTube, I did not feel comfortable at all on camera. I was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't engaging. I was bad, okay? That's all I need to say about that. So you're not alone if you're nervous to film yourself on camera, but it's really important that you find the courage. You can film this a bunch of different times. You don't have to upload the first thing you film. You can test this out as many times as you need to until you come up with something that you're proud of. But I highly recommend that you make a profile video for yourself. And it's really simple to do. You know, all you need to do is discuss your experience, what you can offer to clients, any, achievements you've had in your career, your education, all those different things that you would put on a resume is what you would do in a profile video. Now, I'm not going to play mine here. You can actually see this on my YouTube channel. I'll throw a card somewhere at the top of the screen here so you can watch my profile video to get inspiration. So I filmed this a couple of years ago, so I need to make an updated one because I could do it way better than this one. But I also filmed a instructional type Upwork profile video for Upwork. Now that video is on Upwork's YouTube channel, so I'll put another card up here somewhere at the top of the screen that will link you to the one on Upwork so you can go watch that. And it's a lot better than just looking at mine because I, basically explain everything that went into making mine, my thought process and all of those things. So I'll put a card for that up here. So left to right, the next thing is your profile description. So if I click on more, we can expand it out. So there's a lot of ways that you can make your profile description attractive to clients. I've put a lot of work into mine. It's something that I've modified constantly since I've been on Upwork. It's something that I always update. I think the last time I updated this was probably in the last year. So I pretty much update it every single year. And again, you can see I start mine off with a review. If you're a new freelancer on Upwork, you can't really do this because you don't have a way to back up the review. This review is down in my work history. It's an actual review that a client left me on Upwork. Now, one thing you could do as a new freelancer is you could use a testimonial review here. And we'll get to testimonials here soon. It's a little bit further down on your profile, but in the testimonials section, you can request a testimonial. Basically, you can send this to someone you've worked with outside of Upwork. So a former colleague, a client that you might have had outside of Upwork, someone you've worked with in the past, even a previous employer, you can send them, and this will basically send them an email asking them to leave you a testimonial or review that will show up on your Upwork profile. Now, if you get a client to do this, then that's a great way. You can start off as a new freelancer without any jobs on Upwork, and you can have a review or several reviews on your profile before you complete any jobs. It's really important to do if you're a new freelancer and you're trying to get your first job. Definitely reach out to a bunch of people and try to get them to leave you a testimonial for your profile. If you do that, then you could start yours off. You don't have to. This is what I do personally. You could start off your profile description with a review if that's something you wanted to do, if you have a way to back it up. So the key thing with your profile description is you want to make it client focused. You want to include things here that the client would be looking for, not so much as, describing your years of experience and everything like you would do on a resume. You want to put things in here that from the client side, they would see it and they would think, this person is the right fit for my job. And that's the thought process that I've always had when writing my profile description. So as a new freelancer, a lot of these things won't apply to you because I mentioned a lot of my work history on Upwork. In this situation, you would just replace this with your work history outside of Upwork. So I mentioned some clients I've worked with. Some of these were actually full-time jobs. So Oracle Cerner, that was a full-time job. Alltech, that was another full-time job. And some of these other ones were clients that I've worked with on Upwork. So the last two sections on my profile description are actually important for you trying to get your first job. This is something you could come up with like an alternative version of, or just think about to give yourself inspiration. Here's what I can bring to your project. And you can see here that I'll list off, different things that I think are valuable to clients, different types of skills that I have and knowledge that I have that directly apply to jobs that I try to win on Upwork. And then next, why you should choose me over other freelancers. Now, this is something that I did kind of more creatively. These are things that are more soft skill related, things about me and my personality that I try to go above and beyond to do for clients. So client reviews, I focus on providing value to all of my clients and earning their trust. Over delivering, again, I mentioned that earlier. I always try to over deliver, leaving my client saying, wow. Responsiveness, being extremely responsive, making sure clients are never left in the dark. They always know the status of their project and what I'm doing. Resilience, I'll go above and beyond to make sure that I solve my clients' problems and make their lives better, making their business more money. And kindness, just trying to treat everyone with respect. Being a friendly, welcoming person, it goes a long way when you're working with a client. The way that you communicate with the client, being friendly, if you're on a video call, actually smiling, being just a friendly person. It goes a long way. It's going to make them feel more comfortable with you, and it's going to actually help them trust you more as well if they feel like they can rely on you. And it's going to make them just want to work with you more. It could even lead to another job. Obviously, you have to deliver. Kindness doesn't, complete jobs successfully, but it goes a long way in the review you get from the client, and if they decide to work with you again. And now this last part here, these are just some reviews that I've taken from my work history, my, really good reviews. Now, the powerful thing with this is the client can see that this is a real review. It's not something that I just wrote and tried to fake. I don't recommend doing that ever. Be honest and trustworthy. It goes a long way. And what's really important for you to remember, if you wanted to do something like this, where you put the name of the client and their company, you have to get approval from them to do that. Get that written down in an email or somewhere else in your Upwork messaging. You need approval because the name of the client and their company is usually private information. If the job is private, you can't see the name of the company or the client. Now, if it's public, sometimes you can, but don't do this here without permission. You need to make sure that you're covered in case they had a problem with that. You don't want to be in that situation. So these 3 clients, I've reached out to all 3 of them and asked them if it was okay, just in an email, and they were all fine with it. So just make sure you get permission. You also want to make sure that there's no errors, no grammatical errors. So the best thing you can do for that is install Grammarly. It has a free version. You can also do paid, which gives you a lot more features, but it has a free version. And now this is going to, like you can see here, it's going to highlight any issues that you have when you're writing on websites. So I would definitely install Grammarly just through the browser extension. You can get it from Chrome extensions. And then if you want to take it a step further when writing your profile description, what you can do is use an AI content writing website. Now, what I personally use is called Jasper AI. I just did an entire video on Jasper AI, how to use it to write winning cover letters on Upwork. So go ahead and watch that after this video. I'll put a link at the top here, a card for it. And I'm going to mention that video when we get to the proposal section as well. But what you can do is you can actually use Jasper AI to write a really good profile description for you if you're having issues thinking of things to write. And you can also use it to improve your writing. So if I take my profile description, throw it into Jasper AI, they have different templates like Content Improver. It will go through and organize all your content, making it easier to read. It's one thing you can do to improve different sections of your profile description if you're having, difficulty with those. Now, there's tons of other AI content writing websites like ChatGPT, which is free for now. I heard they're coming out with a paid version. You can still use it for free right now when they're not at capacity, which seems to be less frequently nowadays. But if you want to try Jasper AI, which I love, then I'll put a link down below in the description, joshburnstech.com/Jasper AI. It will take you to this screen here. And if you sign up from here, you'll get 10,000 words for free. And for your profile description, what I also recommend doing is searching for the most successful freelancers with your skill set and looking at their profile descriptions for inspiration. So there's a lot of stuff in mine that's specific to DBA work, but if you want to get inspiration for your skill set, like if you're a video editor, all you have to do is come up to the top, change the drop down to talent, type your skill in, and then when it loads all the freelancers, throw on all the max filters so you can see the most successful freelancers. Then after you have all the filters on, start going through the freelancers and look for the most successful ones, the ones with the highest earnings, 100% job success score, and some type of badge as well, like top rated plus, top rated, or expert vetted. And then go to their profiles and look at their job description. Look at the structure, the skills they listed, and that'll just help you get inspiration for your profile description. Don't copy anyone's profile description. You want yours to be unique, but you can get inspiration from the structure and how they list things out. Just don't copy it. Just come up with something on your own, but use the successful freelancers to get inspiration of how you could word yours and structure it as well. Okay, back on my profile. Let's go ahead and scroll down. We just did the profile description. So hours per week. You can see mine is as needed, open to offers. You can change this based on how many hours that you're available. You want it to be specific. So I don't really have a specific amount of hours that I'm available. So I'll leave mine as this, as needed, open to offers. And if you're in that same situation, this is what you can use. If you want to use something specific, let me jump back to the edited version. You can click on this icon here, and these are the options available to you. So be sure to select whatever works best for you. If you're trying to win your first job on Upwork, you don't want your availability to say none. Okay, the next important part, verifications. You definitely want to be ID verified. So whenever you create your account, you'll go through the process of completing a bunch of steps, and that's going to help you get verified. You definitely want that. That's going to make your profile. I think you have to be verified to have a 100% complete profile, which you definitely want. And you want to be verified as well, because it's going to limit you if you're not. So next up is education. If you've completed any type of degree, definitely list that here. It's going to help you stand out and just kind of, boost your credibility. So if you have a degree, be sure to put it here. Next up is work history. As a new freelancer, you're not going to have any reviews. However, what I do want to say is that the work history section, the reviews you get and the feedback, that's the most important part of your entire profile. Whenever you get your first job, your goal should be to get 5 stars with a great review. That's really going to jumpstart you to help you get your next job after your first one. Reviews matter more than anything else on Upwork. When a client clicks on your profile, of course, they're going to read left to right and eventually get to your work history. But what's going to sell them is what other people are saying about you. If you have bad reviews and people are saying, avoid this freelancer or they did a bad job, you're probably not going to get another job, or you're going to be very limited at the least. So your work history, most important part of your entire profile. It's the most important part of mine, and it always has been. And it's the reason why I have so much earnings on Upwork. The reason why I've made over $800,000. A lot of that has to do with these reviews that I have. I have tons of 5-star reviews, really good feedback, like some of these are paragraphs long. That's what's going to get you more jobs. And a lot of my new clients have even mentioned that. Whenever I do an interview with a client, they mention how I have great reviews. And like I said, it's by far the most important part of my profile. So as a new freelancer, you don't have to worry about this section because you're not going to have any work history. But I wanted to make sure that you know the importance of work history. You need to over-deliver to get reviews like this, and it's what's going to lead to you making a lot of money on Upwork. Okay, next up, this is one of the most important parts, the portfolio section. So I'm not going to cover it yet because it's coming up in a different step. So we're going to skip over the portfolio right now because we're going to come back to it. Okay, next up are the skills. And I briefly mentioned how important these were earlier when we searched for my profile in Upwork search. These skills show up and they also play a part in how your profile ranks. So you can see that my skills are specifically related to the work that I do. SQL Server, performance optimization, database maintenance, server administration for SQL. Every one of these skills relate to the work that I try to get as a freelancer on Upwork. So you need to make sure these skills are specifically related to the jobs that you want to get. So if you click on the edit icon, you can see here that you can have a maximum of 15 skills. So whatever skills that you put in here, it doesn't have to be 15. If there's 15 that all relate to the work that you're trying to get, then definitely do that. But if there's only like 10 skills that really apply to your skill set, then just use 10. You want these to be specific to the jobs that you're trying to get. And again, if you have no idea what to put in here, go look at successful freelancers in your niche with your skill set, look at the skills they listed, and just use the same skills. It's really simple. Another thing you can do is search for a job with your skill set. So if you're a video editor, you can search for video editor, click on one of the open jobs, and look at the skills that they have listed as required skills for the job. That's another easy way that you can come up with skills to put on your profile. Okay, next up is the project catalog. So I don't offer any skills that really go well with the project catalog. I created like a test one before, never did any projects with it. But if you have a skill set that really goes well with the project catalog, kind of like skills that you would see on Fiverr, some type of graphic design, you know, something you can package where you're going to be doing the same work every time. A client can see portfolio examples or even the screenshots that you listed as, you know, examples of your portfolio, something they can see like that. Click on it, they know what they're getting, purchase it, and then you can execute it fairly, you know, accurately within like a certain day range. That's when you would definitely want something in your project catalog. But for me, it's really hard to estimate how many days I would put into a project for my skill set, which makes it really hard to, you know, actually use the project catalog. But if you have a skill set that's really, you know, designed for a packaged product, like I said, like thumbnail design or something like that, then definitely try out the project catalog. Then next up, we have the testimonial section. Now, this is actually really important to getting your first job. If you're a new freelancer on Upwork, again, you have no reviews, no client feedback. If a client clicks on your profile, they can't really get a lot of the trust you would get from a freelancer that has a lot of great reviews. They're going to be kind of hesitant because there's no reviews on your profile. So one thing you can do is really take advantage of this testimonial section, which didn't exist in 2016 when I created my profile. If it did, I would definitely have testimonials. Okay, so go ahead and click on request a testimonial and then fill out all this information. So again, think of someone you've worked with in the past, a colleague, a manager, a client outside of Upwork, anyone that you've worked with that, you know, they really know that you do good work. Go ahead and type in their information here, first name, last name, email address, LinkedIn profile. I think you definitely need this. It's a required field. And then type a message in here. Basically, they give you an example of what you can type in. You could literally use exactly what Upwork is recommending here. And then when you click request testimonial, it will send that person an email and give them the option to leave you feedback, which will then be displayed on your profile in this testimonial section. So very important if you're trying to get your first job, because it's a way that you can have reviews and feedback on your profile before you ever complete an Upwork project. And then next up are certifications. So if you have a certification for a technical skill or any type of skill, you can actually import it here. You can add manually or you can import from Credly. So if you do add manually, the one thing that's important to mention here, if we click this drop down, the specific certification that you use, it has to be in Upwork's database for certifications. So if I type in SQL Server, you can see there's nothing here. Let's type in Microsoft. So Microsoft Certified Professional, click on that. Then if I had a certification that was Microsoft certified, I could copy the transcript ID and access code and then paste them in here and click add certification. And if Upwork approves it, it's in their database, it will be added. And then next up is employment history. So this section is very important. If you're trying to get your first job on Upwork, you're going to have a much higher chance if you've worked with your skill set for a full-time position, even part-time. If you have any employment history, put it in here. If it relates to your skill set, it's going to help you out tremendously. If a client clicks on your profile, they scroll down, you have no reviews, and you have no employment history, then why should they believe that you can deliver? Unless you have an amazing portfolio to make up for that, they're probably not going to give you a chance. So if you have employment history that relates to your skill set, make sure you put it in here. And it's also really important to use that keyword we talked about earlier. So for me, I always want to rank for SQL Server DBA whenever I try to get jobs on Upwork. Again, that is almost always in the title. So look at my employment history, SQL Server DBA. Actually, let's do Control Find SQL Server DBA. Okay, now look at my recent employment history. SQL Server DBA, SQL Server DBA, DBA for SQL Server. Again, the keyword matters. Whatever your main skill set is, what's commonly used in titles for jobs, it's really important to try to use that keyword. Don't flood your profile with it where it looks like you just copied and pasted it everywhere, but use it in ways that organically flow with your profile. It's going to help you rank better in search, and just overall, it's going to make your profile way better. So for my employment history, I just basically copied my LinkedIn and put it in here. Upwork does have a character limit, so like you can't go beyond, I think it's 500 characters. So you do have a 500 character limit. So if we look at my LinkedIn, you can see for my Oracle Cerner job, I only copied down to like right here. So Upwork cut it off at 500 characters. So just keep that in mind. You won't be able to paste the entire thing in. And the very last section of your profile is called Other Experiences. Now, let me tell you something here. So again, I mentioned that there are certain certifications that are in Upwork's database. They have to be in that database to be added on Upwork. So these 3 certifications, I personally have these for Talent, which is a business intelligence tool that you can develop with. It's not in Upwork's database for certifications. So I did want to include these in my profile. And the best way that I figured out how to do that is to come down to Other Experiences and just add them right here. So I added all 3. That's something to keep in mind. It can be useful if you have certifications that you can't put in the certification section. You can put them in here. Now you can request for them to be added to Upwork certification database, which I have done for these, and they're still not in there. So your chances of your certification being added are pretty low in my opinion. So if you want them on your profile, put them down here. Okay, so now that you have a complete profile, we can move on to step 2 and build a strong portfolio. It's critical to create a portfolio that displays your best work, because most clients will look closely at your portfolio before deciding whether or not to hire you. Okay, so back on my profile, let's look at the portfolio section. So you really need to have at least 3 portfolio items, because if you have 3, it covers this first page. I actually have 4 portfolio items. So if I click on the second page, it'll take you to the other one. So you definitely want 3. It's going to look way better when you have 3 items that cover this entire first page. So to get your first job on Upwork, you really want to have a strong portfolio. Because you don't have any reviews or feedback, your portfolio is what is going to help the client have more trust and confidence in your skills and abilities. So you can see that my first portfolio item is directly related to my skill set in SQL Server DBA. And if I click on that, you can see all the details. So there's different templates you can use. I'll show you those in one second. And the one I used basically is the problem and solution template. You describe the problem in detail, and this is an image of the job description. So this one is directly related to a job I completed. You can't really do that as a new freelancer, so you would have to basically use this template for a job that you completed outside of Upwork. So down here, you can see the skills that were listed on the job, and now on the solution, all I did here was describe how I solved the problem for the client and helped their business. And what I did to make this way better, I wrote all the solution out and the problem, and then I took those and I put them in Jasper AI and rewrote them to make them sound way better. And that's why I love artificial intelligence tools like Jasper AI, ChatGPT, and all the other ones, because it can help you write so much better and faster as well. So if you do use the problem and solution template, you have to put files in here. And for my skill set, it wants you to put in project files. And I can't do that, obviously. Like, my skill set is tied to SQL and databases for companies. That information is very sensitive and I cannot put that in here legally. So what I did instead is I just, again, put in the description of the job, and for the solution project file, I just put in the logo for SQL Server. So I wish that I could have left this blank right here, but unfortunately, Upwork requires you to put in a solution file. So in this situation, I just filled that in with a logo. And then at the bottom, you can see the review I got from the client. So when you're trying to get your first job, you won't be able to tie a portfolio item to a job, but it's something you can do in the future when you complete one. So the next one is when I was featured on Upwork's website. It's not related to my skill set, but it helps me out a lot with my credibility because it shows Upwork is confident enough in me to put me on their website homepage, and it just looks really good. And next we have my YouTube channel. I've actually got a lot of compliments from clients who I've interviewed with. They've looked at my YouTube channel, and I don't have it linked here because you can't really link an outside website that has contact information on it. So there's no links here. They basically just can find my channel name, type it in, and find it manually. And I've got a lot of compliments during the interview process where they've watched some of my videos and said they really liked my content. And that's just something extra that I've done that helps out with my credibility and just helps clients have more confidence in me when they can see me talking on camera and, see some of the work I've done. It definitely helps out when building confidence and credibility with clients. So when you're trying to get your first job on Upwork, make sure you put at least 3 portfolio items in here. If you don't have 3 related to your skill set, think of like an accomplishment maybe that you could put in here. So for me, the Upwork accomplishment and even my YouTube channel, not tied to my skill set, but it definitely helps me out on Upwork and helps me stand out among other freelancers who don't have a YouTube channel or produce any type of video content. And to quickly show you what this looks like, if you click on the plus option here by portfolio, give the project a name that specifically relates to the project you completed. So let me put in SQL Server DBA just as an example. So here you have the Upwork related job. It's optional. So you don't have to link it to a job, but if you've completed a job, this is great to do so because it will show your review as well. So that's what I did in the past. I just clicked this drop down, found my job and then selected it. But you can continue without doing that. So go to select template, and now you have 3 templates to choose from. The case study is the one that I chose that has the problem and solution. That's really good depending on your skill set. If there's a problem that you're solving for a client, case study would probably be the best one. But if you do video editing, thumbnail design, graphic design, something else like that, then what you could do is just do a gallery. So display images or videos one at a time. So if I was creating a video editor profile for myself on Upwork, I would definitely do gallery and then list out examples of videos that I've edited. And if you want to take it a step further to stand out among other freelancers, which I definitely recommend doing, I recommend that you create a portfolio website for yourself as well. This will be great on Upwork because you can link portfolio website pages as long as you don't have any contact information on the page. So whenever you create a portfolio web page, which I can show you an example of, you want to make sure that you don't have your email address, a contact form, phone number, anything like that, because that technically violates terms of service for Upwork and you can have your account suspended. So if you want to link your personal portfolio in an Upwork cover letter, you want to make sure there's no contact information anywhere on that page. And the reason why a personal portfolio is really powerful is because you can use it outside of Upwork. So if you're reaching out to a client, maybe on LinkedIn, some other platform, you can use the same portfolio to send to them. You don't have to, send them to your Upwork profile to look at your portfolio section. Some of them maybe don't even have an account on Upwork. So having a personal portfolio is really powerful. I personally have a lot of friends on Twitter that have got so much work through Twitter, and they all have personal portfolios that people on Twitter have been able to see to get examples of their work. So a great option for you to create a personal portfolio is Hostinger. They are one of the best web hosts that I personally recommend, and I have a code with them that you can use to get a huge discount as well. So to create your personal portfolio, go down to the description in this video and you'll find a link there for Hostinger. The URL is hostinger.com/JoshBurnsTech. That will take you to this web page. And then from here, all you have to do is click on claim deal. Now from here, you have a few different plans. This one is the most popular because of the amount of websites you can use and all the other things that are built in. Like they have a free domain. You can choose your domain name directly from here as well. So in my opinion, I would probably go with the most popular option, this middle one here. So if I click on add to cart, and now there's different options that you can choose from for how many months that you want to go ahead and purchase a web hosting plan with Hostinger. Okay, so from this page, before you look at the pricing for how many months you want to purchase, the first thing you want to do is scroll down, and now under payment, go to coupon code. Select this option here. And now for the coupon code, which is also down in my description, all you have to type in is Josh Burns Tech and click apply. So then scrolling back up, like I said, there's different periods that you can choose from. I would probably go with at least 12 months just so that you're going to get some discount after you start paying monthly. So you can see on 48 months that the plan renews at $6.99 a month. After the 48 months, you're going to save almost $400 with this plan. But if you want to choose a shorter duration, you can go with 24 months or even 12 months. Then once you get signed in, you can go ahead and choose your domain name and then set up your portfolio webpage really easily. Because let me jump over here. So Hostinger has a bunch of templates. This template right here is the portfolio template, the personal portfolio. You can change everything on here. This is the template that it comes with to give you an example. So you can see my domain name up here, but all the information on this page, this is all just a template that's on Hostinger that you can select for yourself. What's great about this template is it shows you how to build a portfolio. Like look at all these great examples of how to structure yours. So what I'm thinking about doing is doing a full video and build a personal portfolio from scratch. So if that's something you would be interested in watching, drop a comment down below on this video and let me know if you want to see a video where I build a portfolio from scratch. I'll create one for myself and make a YouTube video out of it. I think that would be really helpful. So anyway, from this template, you can change everything on here. You can put a picture of yourself, a description of what you do, what you offer to clients, an about me section. And what's really great is down here, you have work experience and then a little bit further, portfolio. So this is where you can put some portfolio items and have them rotate so clients can see all of them. I think this would be great, especially if you have a graphic design skill or even building websites like, this example, or even if you do thumbnail design. You can have all of your best work rotating right here for a client to see. And then down here, we have reviews from clients that they've worked with and people they've worked with, on their own. So again, when you're trying to get your first job on Upwork, you won't have any work history on Upwork, but you could have a personal portfolio website that has reviews from people that you've worked with outside of Upwork. Again, make sure you don't put any contact information on this page. So if I scroll down further, you can see this option here, enter email address. What you'd want to do is remove this section, just get rid of it, get rid of the social media stuff down here as well. So if you build a personal portfolio that you want to link on Upwork, make sure you get rid of anything that involves contact information or details. We would also get rid of this contact button up here as well. And this hire me button, you could actually have this linked to your profile on Upwork. And if I build out a personal portfolio and put it in a YouTube video, that's something I can show you how to do as well. So if you want that video, drop a comment down below and let me know. So again, to drastically increase your chances of getting your first job on Upwork, I recommend having 3 to 5 portfolio items on your Upwork profile like this right here, and having a personal portfolio that's outside of Upwork. Having both options is going to help you stand out to clients and give you a competitive advantage over other freelancers who simply don't choose to do it. So for my personal website, I have contact information on mine, but because of my success on Upwork, I don't really link it in my cover letters. I just don't need to because I have so many reviews. But I think it's really important to have a personal portfolio, especially if you plan on eventually getting clients outside of Upwork as well. You need some way to show them examples of your work, and having a personal portfolio is an easy way to accomplish that. Now that you have a strong portfolio, we need to find the best jobs on Upwork. And like in my last video, I'm going to approach this as a new freelancer and to look for video editing jobs because video editing has really high demand on Upwork. Okay, so on Upwork, go to the very top where it says find work and click on find work. Now again, we're going to be looking for video editor jobs, and I'm going to approach this as a new freelancer, assuming I have no reviews, no client history, and I'm trying to win my first job. So click on search for job and let's type in video editor. And let's select for YouTube. because that's the type of content that I edit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is show you how to find the best jobs. So you definitely want your search to be specific enough that it relates directly to your skill set, but also that it doesn't filter out, things that you may be able to do as well. So video editor for YouTube, that's what I'm looking for. You could also type in YouTube video editor, anything that's related to that search term. Now, when trying to get my first job for experience level, I would probably start off with intermediate and entry level. Now, if you're really confident in your skill set, you could put expert. For my skill set as a video editor for YouTube, I definitely think that my skill set is at an expert level, but when trying to get my first job, I'm really trying to get, something in the mid price range. But when getting my first job, what I really want to do is get a job that gives me a chance to get a 5-star review with amazing feedback. And my thought process is, if I find something like in the intermediate level, the expectations might be a little lower than the expert level jobs. So if I get an intermediate level job and I do amazing 5-star, review work on it, I really think that I can get a great review. And that's going to be critical when building this profile, because whenever I want to get my second job on Upwork, if I have a 5-star review, great feedback, it's going to help me out a lot. Okay, next, under job type, I'm kind of interested in both hourly and fixed price when trying to get my first job. For my skill set on Upwork as a SQL Server DBA, hourly works way better for my skill set, but when trying to get my first job, especially as a video editor, I think that both hourly and fixed price would be good to look at. Okay, next up we have a number of proposals. I would select less than 5, 5 to 10, and 10 to 15. So I would recommend starting with these three, because when a client has more than, I think it's 10 proposals submitted for a job, they have to click on a load more button or click on next page to see the rest of the proposals. Whenever there's 15 to 20 or 20 to 50, your chances of having your proposal stand out and be noticed are going to be drastically lower. I'm not saying you can't win a job with 15 to 20 proposals or more than that, because you definitely can. It's just going to be harder to get noticed. So next up on client info, I personally wouldn't select either one of these. A lot of people are going to tell you to always look at payment verified and check that. Payment verified is extremely important because a client has to be payment verified to hire you. It's required. But I've personally won a lot of jobs from new freelancers who just created an account on Upwork, and they were, testing Upwork to see if it would be a viable solution for them. They weren't really sure yet, so they didn't, verify their payment method. And I've actually won jobs during the interview process, got hired by the client, and then had them verify their payment method. So I wouldn't filter that out right now, because there could be clients that just aren't sure about Upwork yet. And if you filter them out, you're going to potentially lose some opportunities where you could, be hired and then they get payment verified after that. And the main reason why people will tell you to check this is because it filters out scams, but there's scam accounts that can be payment verified. Some of them won't be, but the best way to filter out scams is to do an interview call with the client. That's what I always do. If it's a brand new client on Upwork, if it even seems like it could be scammy, I can pretty much filter those out myself just by looking at the job description. But new freelancers are going to have a harder time doing that. So just do an interview call with the client. If they don't get on a call with you, then that's a red flag. So for these two, I personally would not check these. Client history, again, I'm leaving all these unchecked. I've had a lot of clients that were brand new to Upwork, hired me first, and I've made a lot of money with them, so I don't want to filter out new clients. And the rest of these, I don't really select anything. Client location, time zone, talent cloud, hours per week. Now, if you're on a limited, amount of time that you can dedicate to freelancing, then you could select one of these options here. In my opinion, there's a lot of clients that aren't sure how many hours their project will take per week, so I would probably leave it unchecked personally to not filter out someone that's unsure of what to put in here. But if you're really on a time crunch where you have a full-time job, you're doing freelancing on the side, then you could choose less than 30 hours per week. Now, these next two are brand new. They're new filters. So connects needed. Whenever you apply for a job on Upwork, we're going to get to that later in the video, there's a certain amount of connects that you have to spend. Now, what you can do, if you have a limited amount of connects is you can select one of these options here. So if you only had 4 connects, then obviously you can't bid on a job with 6 connects unless you buy more of them. So for me, I'm not checking anything. Now this last one is new and I kind of like it. For me personally, I would never use it. I like being a freelancer. I don't want a full-time role with anyone. I don't want to be hired in a full-time position. I've done that in the past. I love freelancing and that's what I want to do. But now you have the option to select contract to hire roles. Now with our filters applied, you can see them here, entry level, intermediate, and then the number of proposals. We have 207 YouTube video editor jobs open, and that's a lot. There's a lot of demand in video editing, especially with the rise and growth of the creator economy. It's a great skill set to have. And you can also see the US only is checked. So if we uncheck that, there's going to be a lot more jobs. So now you can see 2,739 open jobs for YouTube video editor with our filters applied that are in the US and also outside of the US. Now, if you want to use the US only filter, that's really a personal preference. It doesn't matter. It depends on where you're located, what type of jobs you're looking for. So in this example, we're just going to leave it turned off. Now, I've personally worked with, several clients that are outside of the US. I've worked with a client in Canada, Australia, and I think a few other locations as well. So most of my jobs have been in the US, and that's because my rate is really high. It's one of the highest for my skill set, but I have worked with a few other clients outside of the US as well. Now, when you search for a job, you want to look for things that grab your attention based on the title and the description. Okay, here's a job that just grabbed my attention. YouTube video editor, business and finance channel. So that grabs my attention because part of my video is personal finance. I have a lot of personal finance content on my channel, so that's something I'm definitely interested in. We can see this job is fixed price and it has a budget of $320. I'm assuming that is per video. We'll figure that out in a moment. And we can also see this client is payment verified, and they don't have any feedback from freelancers, but they have spent a little bit of money. They've spent $80. Okay, so if we click on this job, we can see more details here. Okay, that's a problem for me right there. Average video length 8 to 12 minutes and looking for $40 per video. In my opinion, this client needs to have their skill set set to entry level. That is way too low of a budget for intermediate skill level. Editing an 8 to 12 minute video based on personal finance content, that would take hours to edit. And if you're only making $40 for the entire video, that's going to be a very, very low return. So let's go ahead and close this one. We're not interested in it. Okay, here's another one that I would be interested in. Long-term editor needed for NBA commentary YouTube channel. I love the NBA. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I have NBA League Pass, watch every game. So I would be interested in this. I like that it's long-term as well. That stands out. The reviews don't look good. 3.87. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, we can see over here they have a 3.87 out of 5 stars, which is pretty low in my opinion. Let's scroll down. This one is from 2021, a 1-star review. Looks like bad communication, pressure to work outside of Upwork elsewhere. That's a big red flag. They were trying to get this freelancer to go off Upwork. That is a guaranteed way to have your account suspended. You'll get kicked off Upwork if you do that. So that's a huge red flag, and I'm not interested in working with this client at all after seeing that. So we're going to close it. Okay, here's another one. Help grow my faceless YouTube channel. Payment verified. They've spent $30,000 on Upwork, which is good. Good reviews, 4.99. Let's go ahead and look at it. Okay, this job looks like it could be a mix of video editing, script writing, and even helping produce the content and plan it as well. So there could be a lot of work available with this project, not just video editing. I personally know how to do all of this because I do it for my channel, so I'm definitely interested in this job. Now, let's look at a few other things. Again, they have good reviews. We're going to take a look at that in a moment. It's only 2 connects to submit a proposal. That's really good as well. Okay, so skills and expertise. Remember how I mentioned your profile skills? You can see the skills the client listed for their job. That's why you don't want to put random things in your skills. You want to make these specific to the jobs that you're trying to get. When a client puts these skills in here, if your profile has these, it's going to help you rank for this job. Upwork actually recommends freelancers to clients when they create a job. If you want to show up in recommended, you have to do all the right things, the right skills, having completed jobs related to that skill. All those things come into play here when you want to be recommended to clients. Okay, so preferred qualifications. They want to work with someone that's in Eastern time zone. That's my time zone, so that works out well. You can see the check mark by it. And activity on this job. Now, this is something very important, so pay attention to this part. So proposals, 10 to 15. We put that filter on there because we're looking for jobs that had a lower amount of proposals submitted so that ours has a better chance of being noticed. So 10 to 15, that's good. Last viewed by client. Extremely important. You can see they viewed this job 1 day ago, which is good. It means they've been active recently. If you find a job in Upwork search that was submitted a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, and the client hasn't viewed the job in like a week, then they may have given up on the job. It doesn't mean they have. They may come back to it. But the longer the duration right here on last viewed by client, the less likely they are to hire someone. Once it hits, I think 30 days without activity, then Upwork will automatically close the job. So keep that in mind. It's really important. It's going to help you avoid wasting connects from bidding on jobs that clients aren't even looking at. So they're interviewing one person and they sent one invite. So that means whoever they invited to their job accepted it, and now they're messaging back and forth. That's not an issue for me. You know, typically clients will invite some freelancers. So the fact they're interviewing one person, that's fine. Okay, next, bid range. Out of the 10 to 15 proposals, the bid range, the highest anyone has bid on this job is $59 per hour because this is an hourly job. The average is $29. That's a good average. And the low is $5. Now, for me to get an accurate rate of what I would want to bid to get my first job, let's look at their history to see what they've paid other freelancers. Again, this client is looking for intermediate level, so they would be probably willing to pay a little bit higher rate than, the bottom tier, what someone has bid $5 on. The fact that it's intermediate skill level, it doesn't always mean this, but usually it means they're willing to pay like a mid rate, if that makes sense. Okay, looking at their job history, let's expand this out. Again, the rates in here are going to help you to see what they're willing to pay, but these are different skill sets that have different rates as well. So you can't, it's not directly correlated, but it will help you. So $10 an hour, $100 an hour. So based on hourly rates that I've seen on these jobs and the skill levels associated with them, and looking at the bid range as well, I would say somewhere between $20 and $30 an hour would be a good amount for this job because they're looking for intermediate level. So if you bid $59 or more per hour, that's going to be on the higher end. And since it's an intermediate level, skill level, they're probably not willing to pay that, especially looking at other jobs that they've, posted as well. So I think a safe bet for me trying to get my first job here would be $20 an hour or $25. And that actually lines up with what I bid on my first job. My first job on Upwork was $25 an hour. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I probably should have went to $45, but for this specific job, I think somewhere between $20 and $25 would be the ideal amount to bid on this. So as you can see, when you're trying to find your first job on Upwork, it's really important to understand how filters work. And it's also very important to understand all the different things on the job. You need to interpret each of them. It's going to help you avoid wasting connects, wasting your time bidding on jobs that you shouldn't bid on. It's definitely important to bid on, as many good jobs, and keyword there being good. More volume is usually always better. So the more proposals that you submit per week, the higher chance you have of being noticed. However, if you're submitting proposals on jobs that don't really align with your skill set, or you're not doing everything we just did, all the things that we just looked at, the filters, all the details on the job, if you're not looking at all of those things, then you're almost wasting your time. And when you're doing higher volume on proposals submitted, it doesn't work out as well because you're going to end up wasting a lot of connects and time from, just throwing your connects away, bidding on jobs you should never be bidding on. But if you follow the steps that we just went through to find this job, it's going to help you out tremendously and you're going to have a much higher chance of being noticed and getting hired. We are now ready to move on to step 4 and start applying for jobs. Okay, back on the job that we found in the last step, let's cover some of the best practices when submitting job proposals. So let's go up here and click apply now. Okay, again, it's going to take 2 connects to submit a proposal. That amount is good. It's pretty low. This number can get up to 6 connects. I've seen that in the past. So 2 connects is good. Okay, job details. Very important when writing your cover letter. I'll give you some more tips on that here in a moment. Okay, and now here are the terms. This is where you put in your hourly rate. So don't pay attention to my profile rate. That's for SQL Server DBA, which is my skill set. It pays a lot more than video editing per hour. So just ignore that. Again, if I was bidding on this job, trying to get my first job on Upwork, and remembering everything we did in the last section, I would go ahead and bid $25 an hour on this job. Again, I said bidding somewhere between $20 to $25 an hour would probably be the best amount. So doing 25, I like more because I'll actually make $20 an hour on it after the 20% fee. So I'm going to go with $25 an hour. Now, next up is the cover letter, which obviously is the most important part of your entire job proposal. The cover letter is what's going to win you a job or not win you a job. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to write a cover letter for this job because this video would end up being probably 2 hours long if I did that. However, my last video that I just uploaded on my channel, I used artificial intelligence, Jasper AI, to write a cover letter for a video editing job. Not this one, but another one that I found for that video. And I'll put a card above at the top of the screen here. So whenever you're done with this video, go watch that video next because it's going to show you how to write a cover letter using artificial intelligence, making it way easier. Now, something else that I want to give you completely for free is a cover letter template that I created for freelancers. And in that Upwork proposal video using artificial intelligence that I just told you about, I actually used this cover letter template in that video, so definitely check it out. Now, what you can see here, if you scroll down, you can see the full cover letter template, which you can copy out and you can get inspiration from. And if we look at the bottom here, you can see an actual cover letter that I submitted on Upwork, and it won me a contract with a client that I ended up making $87,000 with. Actually more than $87,000 because I'm still working with that client on a new contract. So at this point, that job is probably over $100,000 if I had to guess. And you can see the entire cover letter, exactly what I submitted. So again, you can find this cover letter down below in the description, or you can type in joshburnstech.com/cover letter and it will take you directly to this page. Okay, now let's move on to step 5, which is ace the interview. Once you've attracted a client with your profile, portfolio, and proposal, now it's time to jump on a call with them and secure the job. Okay, so back on the cover letter template, let's scroll down to the end of it. And right here, you can see include a call to action. Now, this is one of the most important parts of your entire cover letter and job proposal. This is how you get a client to take action and move forward with you to start interviewing you. So what a lot of, freelancers do is they create a cover letter with no call to action. They just say like, looking forward to hearing from you soon, or message me, something like that. However, what I recommend doing, I've done this since almost day one when I started on Upwork. I always try to schedule a quick call with the client. So when a client reads your cover letter, you don't want them to finish reading it and then move on, go to another freelancer and start reading their proposal. You want them to move forward with you. And the best way to do that is to give them something to do. So if we look at this section here, here's exactly what I put in my cover letters, word for word. Let's schedule a quick 10-minute introduction call so that we can discuss your project in more detail and ensure that I will be the perfect fit. I have tomorrow open from, and then this is where you would insert your available times. So tomorrow, let's say I'm available from 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. That's what you would put inside these brackets. If those times don't work for you, just let me know what works best and I will do my best to alter my schedule around your availability. And then I include some questions for the call, and I come up with these based on the job description. If there's things I can think of that I would want to talk about on the call, I just list a few of them here. I like to do that because it shows that I have a lot of interest in the job. It shows that I read the job description in full detail, which a lot of freelancers don't do. And it gives them something to think about as well. So when they read these questions, they're going to start thinking more about the call. And my goal is that it gets them to actually schedule it with me. Now, something else really important to remember, this call has to be on Upwork's platform. You can't give them your email address, phone number, anything like that. You can't give out contact details that are outside of Upwork until they hire you. After they hire you, your contract started, you can then give them your email address or whatever else you want. But while you're, interviewing and submitting job proposals, you cannot include that. You don't want to risk having your account suspended and getting kicked off Upwork. So make sure you don't give out any of your contact details before you start the job. Now, if the client actually does decide to message you and move forward, then within the messaging, you can schedule the call. Upwork has, several things built in. You can schedule a Zoom meeting through Upwork, which they just added in the last year or so. And that's what I like the most. I usually just schedule a Zoom meeting, or you can actually just do, a direct phone call through Upwork's platform as well. And right in your Upwork messaging, you can click on a button. Let me see if I can show it to you. I'll have to blur out the messaging. Okay, there's going to be a lot of things blurred out right now because I don't want to show my client names and, all that stuff. But what you can see here, if we go up here to the top, we can see schedule meeting. Now, this is what you'll want to click on. You can then connect your calendar. So Gmail, your calendar in Gmail, or if you have a Microsoft email account, or if you don't have either, you can just skip this step. Okay, next you would want to choose the time zone. This is going to be the time zone that you schedule the meeting in. Just select whatever your time zone is here. Okay, then select the days you're available. So you could do Monday, Tuesday, or just, one individual day and add them in, and then select the times that you're available as well. And then you can also select the meeting length. Now, again, I always say 10-minute introduction call. If I used this option here to schedule the meeting, I would select 15. And then last, if you hit send, it's going to send that information to the client. And now to give you some tips for the interview call. Number one, don't let your fear of, being rejected or not having enough experience or having a bad experience on the call, don't let that fear prevent you from putting this in your cover letter. I don't personally like being on calls, especially long calls. They exhaust me. I feel like I need a break after them. Don't let that fear hold you back from success on Upwork. I had to get over those barriers myself as well, and I know that you can if that's something that you struggle with. 10 to 15 minutes goes by so fast. What's the worst that could happen is they don't want to work with you? Why does that even matter? You're still putting yourself out there. You're still giving yourself a chance to find a job that can make you tons of money and really jumpstart your freelance career. So take the risk. Even if it doesn't play out the way you want, at some point it will. Questions for the call, that last part is really important because it's going to help you start thinking about what you want to say on the call. It's going to make you more prepared. And what I personally do as well is I open up the job in Upwork, the job description. I have it open on one side of my screen and I'll have the meeting open on the other side. If it's a video call, I'll have them side by side. And then also like any notes that I have written down as well. I personally use Notion, obviously, from this cover letter template. And I also have a section where I type out things from the call. So it's important to take notes during your interview calls. The things they mention they want from you as a freelancer, anything else that comes up as well, those things you want to have written down because if you get hired, all the things they mention that they want help with, you're going to be able to remember what they said in the interview. Now, the day of your interview, even though it's only 10 to 15 minutes, you need to prepare for it. You know what that means? It means taking a shower, fixing your hair, brushing your teeth, all the things that your mom tells you to do when you're getting ready for school, all those things, that's what you want to do the day of your interview. It's just going to make you seem like a better person to work with, like you actually care about the work you're doing. I know as a freelancer, most days I wear a t-shirt and shorts almost every day. That's just part of being a freelancer. But if I had a call with a client like this and I knew there was a chance that it could be a video call like on Zoom, a lot of times it's only voice, but I always prepare for it to be a video call. And that's what you should do as well. Whenever it's only a voice call, man, I love those times because I don't have to turn my camera on. It's so more laid back. But some clients, prefer video. They want to meet you. So you need to prepare for it to be a video call and make sure that you're in a location that's somewhat quiet and you have good lighting as well. You don't want to be somewhere where there's, people talking everywhere. Maybe you have kids running around and you don't want to be in some dark room where they can't even see you. Just make sure you're in a room that's well lit. You have good lighting and it's quiet, or at least somewhat quiet, to filter out all the noise around you. You can go to Amazon and find a really cheap webcam. I would recommend getting a at least 1080p or up to 4K, one of those types of webcams. And you can also get a mic as well. You can get certain mics for $30 to $50, which are pretty affordable, and it's going to make your audio way better than using, the built-in mic on your computer or using like a headset or something like that. And that's my exact process for acing interviews on Upwork. The key thing that I want you to remember and take away from this section is that there's so many jobs and so many clients on Upwork. If one of them rejects you or doesn't move forward with you after the interview, don't let that bother you. there's so many more chances, so many more opportunities. You're going to get more of them, and you're eventually going to get your first job on Upwork. The next two steps are for those of you who want to go above and beyond to stand out from the competition. Step number 6 is create a personal brand. Now, if you want to take it a step further to really separate yourself from most of the freelancers on Upwork, then you should really think about creating a personal brand. So in my opinion, freelancing isn't about just completing a bunch of random jobs for random clients. In my opinion, freelancing is about building a business, a sustainable business around your personal brand. So back in 2018, I launched my YouTube channel, Josh Burns Tech, and my website, joshburnstech.com on the same day. I wanted to build something for myself outside of Upwork and also have a personal brand that would make me stand out over other freelancers as well. So here are some tips that will help you do this as well. When I created joshburnstech.com, I wanted to come up with a brand company name that had my name in it. The reason for that is your interests usually change over time. So if I created a website called SQLserversomething.com, if I was just creating SQL content, maybe eventually I don't want to create SQL content anymore. Then if I got to that point, my domain name and my business name, that would be useless. I would have to create something new. So I wanted to create something that was tied directly to me and my name versus, a specific product that I might not be as interested in the future. So I ended up choosing Josh Burns Tech, and my company is an LLC, so it's Josh Burns Tech LLC or Limited Liability Company. So again, on pretty much any web host platform, you can enter domain names to see what's available. So if we come down here on Hostinger and we type in joshburnstech.com and we do search, we can see here that it's not available. Now there's other options as well, but in my opinion, if you're building a website, you definitely want to use .com. It's by far the most popular, and that's what I would personally go with. So let's try joshuaburnstech.com, which is my actual, full first name. And we do search. Okay, that one is available. So I could use that as my domain. So that's what I recommend doing whenever you're trying to come up with a domain name for your brand and your business that you're building, is use a web host platform. You can come into pretty much any of them to see what domain names are available for purchase. So I really recommend that you start considering building a brand for yourself. The easiest way to build a brand is to, again, come up with your name for the brand, create a website around, your brand name. That could be as simple as a one-page portfolio website. Or if you want to take it a step further, which is what I personally did, I created my website, which has multiple pages on it. And I also created a blog that includes SQL Server content. This shows that I really know what I'm talking about when I'm able to teach other people about my skill set. So, having a YouTube channel, having a blog, those things are going to help you stand out over other freelancers that don't have them. And becoming a content creator, for me, it was a lot of work. I was not comfortable on camera. I had no clue what I was doing. I think my setup was horrible. My lighting was bad. My scripting was really bad as well. It took a lot of work for me to become, even decent as a content creator. So just keep that in mind. If it's something you're nervous about doing, you don't think that anyone would want to listen to what you have to say or read about it, that's not true. There's so many people that become really successful bloggers and YouTubers that are introverts, that don't like being on camera, that had a really tough time getting started. And they're some of the most successful, YouTubers and content creators in the world. So keep that in mind. If it's something that you're struggling with, you're not sure if you would be good, or you're worried about what other people would say about you, don't worry about that. There's more people that will enjoy your content and get value from it and, genuinely enjoy you as a person versus the few haters that are going to, try to pull you down. Ignore those. There's so few of them, and honestly, they're probably just jealous because you're doing something that they know they want to do or should have done. So just keep that in mind. Step number 7 is what separates the people who give up when times are hard from the people who finally break through and make life-changing money on Upwork. Step number 7 is never give up mentality. As a new freelancer on Upwork, you're going to experience a lot of disappointment and rejection. You can't let yourself give into discouragement just because things get tough. You see, See, that's what most new freelancers do, and that's why they quit before getting their first job. If you put in that extra effort and push a little harder than everyone else, I promise it will pay off in the long run. The ones who make it are never the ones who stopped pushing forward when things got hard. Every top-rated and expert-vetted freelancer like myself pushed through tons of disappointment and rejection. When you look at my profile, you see all of my earnings, my reviews, and you probably think that everything came easy for me. But the truth is, it didn't. I reached a point where I almost gave up. In my first 4 months on Upwork, I submitted countless job proposals that got 0 interviews, but I didn't give up. I kept trying to improve something with every job proposal, and finally, after 4 months, I won my first job, and the rest is history. If I would have given up when things got hard, then I would have missed out on over $1 million between my Upwork earnings, my content, and my personal clients outside of Upwork. So don't give up. When you feel like you can't go anymore, reach deep within yourself and find a way to push forward. Quitting may seem like your only choice at times, but it will leave behind a deep regret that will stay with you until the end of your life. I believe in you. You can make it through whatever is thrown at you if you believe in yourself and never give up. One day it will be you who is telling the story of how you overcame adversity and made it to the top 1% of freelancers on Upwork. If you haven't already downloaded the Freelance Income Pro dashboard yet, then be sure to click on the first link down below in the description. It's a great way to see all of your Upwork clients, earnings, and fees in one place. And right now there's a promo going on where you can get 30% off using discount code FPLaunch. The dashboard is also available to members of the Freelance Pro tier on my Patreon, which also comes with a private freelance Discord community as well. As always, thank you so much for being here. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next. Let's see if they're right.